Because marketing is not just about visibility, it's about creating a path for someone to go from finding you to learning from you to trusting you to deciding to work with you. I'm Sylvia Garibaldi, founder and CEO of a well-established marketing training and done-for-you services company, tailored specifically for the modern legal and financial professional worldwide. While it's taken some trial and error to figure out which methods get the best results for professionals who are looking to grow their practices, fast forward to today, my team and I have nailed down and perfected a process that has helped so many of our clients consistently achieve outstanding results and create a legacy for their practices. I created the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast to give you simple, actionable, non-salesy, and results-driven marketing to grow your legal or financial practice like so many of our clients have. If you're a lawyer, mediator, financial, or divorce professional who is looking to become highly visible and wants to create a practice that makes an impact, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 116 of the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast. I'm your host, Sylvia Garibaldi. So one of the most important things I've learned from working with professionals is this. The challenge is almost never a lack of effort. In fact, most of the lawyers, mediators, and divorce professionals we speak with are doing quite a bit. They are showing up on social. They are attending events. They are having conversations with potential clients. They are staying visible in a very competitive space. But even with all of that, I'm finding that their results seem pretty inconsistent. And so the right clients are not coming in as steadily as they would like. And there's also a sense that something is missing, but it's not always clear what that is. So naturally, I think the focus turns to strategy, right? Maybe I need to post more, or maybe I need to try a different platform. Maybe I should be speaking on more stages. Do I need to change my messaging? But what I want to offer in this episode is really a different perspective because in many cases, it's not just a strategy problem and it's not just a mindset problem. What's actually happening is that the thinking behind the marketing, the way those client conversations are being approached, and really the role that marketing plays in the business are not fully aligned. And on top of that, there's also a lack of clarity about what strategy actually makes sense for that specific professional based on where they are right now in their career or business. And so what ends up happening is this. They keep doing a lot, but they're doing too many things that don't connect or don't match where they are in their business right now. And so they could be focusing on the wrong activities for their practice. And what I'm trying to say here is that that misalignment quietly affects everything from how you show up to how you communicate your value to whether a potential client feels confident enough to move forward. And this is exactly where marketing coaching becomes so important. And that's what I want to focus this episode on today, because you need a clearer way of thinking about what you're already doing and a clearer focus on what you should actually be doing so that your efforts start working together instead of feeling scattered. So in this episode, I want to walk you through three things. First, why so many lawyers and mediators resist marketing in ways they do not always recognize. Second, the mindset shifts that are required to turn marketing into something that actually supports your growth. And third, what marketing coaching really does behind the scenes, both in how you think and what you focus on, so that it can help you move through those blocks and start seeing more consistent results. And this is what I'm going to be sharing with you. We've been doing marketing coaching for many years, helping our clients reach new heights of success and overcoming those obstacles. Because one thing that I have seen for sure is when this becomes clear, clients stop feeling frustrated about their marketing, and it starts feeling like something they can actually rely on to grow their practice. So let's dive in. So, one of the first things I work through with clients is something they don't always expect. And it's not their content, and it's not their social media profiles, and it's not which strategy they should be using. It's their resistance to marketing itself. And let me tell you, this resistance is usually very subtle, and it doesn't sound like, I don't want to market my business. Instead, it actually shows up as hesitation. So it shows up as inconsistency. It shows up as overthinking what to say, which leads to perfectionism. It shows up as avoiding certain conversations. So, for example, could be pricing and packaging. It could be how they are paid, why their invoices weren't paid, or even as constantly changing direction because nothing feels quite right. So they keep moving in different directions and they don't stay in one area long enough to see if it's actually working. So, for example, I hear things like, I don't want to come across as too salesy, or I'm not really comfortable talking about fees, or I'd rather just focus on doing good work and let that speak for itself. So, if you're thinking of any of these things, it's important to identify them and then tackle them because these are mindset blocks that can hold you back from growing your business. In fact, there's a concept that I came across in a book called You Become What You Think by Shubham Kumar Singh, and it really applies here. And the idea is very simple, but very relevant to marketing because the way you think shapes how you show up. So if your internal thinking is hesitant or uncertain or pulling back from certain conversations, that's exactly how your marketing and your client interactions will come across. Not because you're not capable, but because your thinking is influencing your actions in ways that you may not realize. And this is why mindset is not just a nice to have in marketing or business development for that matter, right? It directly impacts how clearly you communicate, how confidently you guide clients, and whether someone feels ready to move forward with you. And so this book is a really great read. I highly recommend it. It's simple to understand. And I really like that every section is listed as an insight, followed by one simple action that you should be taking. So, very powerful and a great book to have on hand to refer to on an ongoing basis, especially when you're feeling a bit stuck. And so, I think on the surface, these thoughts sound completely reasonable. But underneath, what's really happening is that marketing is being associated with pressure, with selling, or with being someone that they're not. And because of that, professionals hold back, right? They soften their message, they avoid being specific about who they help, they hesitate when it's time to guide a potential client forward. They may decide not to, move forward with marketing expenses all because they're not sure about how it works. Is it going to help? It's really, really important to understand that this doesn't just affect your marketing, it directly affects your client conversations as well. Because that same hesitation that you have will show up in everything that you do as a business owner. So it could show up in the consultation call. You may not be asking the right questions. You may not be confidently explaining your value. Or sometimes you may avoid discussing fees right to the very end or skip it altogether, right? Until it's time to have that conversation. And I think what happens is that it leaves your prospective client feeling like the conversation is still unsure. And not because you're not capable, but because the clarity and confidence weren't fully there. But there's another layer to this that's just as important. When someone feels uncertain about marketing, what I see is that they also tend to feel uncertain about what strategy to commit to. So they try a little bit of everything. As I mentioned before, they may post and then they stop. They may attend events, but they don't follow up with potential leads. They think about doing webinars, but they never fully build them out. And this becomes a cycle of starting and stopping. And this applies to those that need to engage in marketing. They need to engage in the services of a marketer, but they hesitate. And this all lines up with this uncertainty. And once again, it's not because they're not capable, but because there's no clear direction behind what they're doing. And this is where mindset and strategy start to overlap. because when you don't feel confident in how you're showing up, it's very difficult to commit to a strategy. And when you don't have a clear strategy, it just reinforces that feeling that marketing is not working. So, one of the first shifts that I help many of our clients make is this, and that is moving from a sales mindset to a service mindset. Because when you truly see your role as helping someone understand their situation, guiding them through their options, and showing them what is possible, everything changes. You're no longer trying to convince someone, you're helping them make a decision. And that shift removes a lot of the pressure people actually feel around marketing. And I think at the same time, we start simplifying the strategy. So we're not adding more with our clients, but we're focusing on what actually makes sense for them. Where are your strengths? How do you naturally build trust? Who are you already connected to? Because once those pieces become clear, it becomes much easier to commit to a direction. And when you combine that clarity in strategy with confidence in how you show up, that's when marketing starts to feel much more easier and more consistent and far more effective. So once we start working through that initial resistance, I think the next step is really helping clients make a few key shifts. And these shifts are not doing more, they are about changing how you approach what you're already doing and becoming much more intentional about where you focus your time and your energy. And so the first shift is, from random activities to a very clear, focused strategy. Most professionals, they're not lacking ideas, but they are lacking focus. And they're doing a bit of this and a bit of that. And unfortunately, there is no clear strategy connected to these efforts. And so nothing ends up building real momentum. And so one of the first things I help our clients do is to step back and decide, what is the primary way that you're going to generate opportunities in your business? Is that through building referral relationships? Is that through thought leadership and content? Is that through workshops or webinars? Because not all strategies work equally well for everyone. And I think that's a big piece that's missing. People like to read ideas, marketing ideas, and they think, oh, well, I'll try this because this sounds like this could work for me. But the reality is, you need a professional to help assess where you are in the marketing process. And that's exactly what we do. So we help decide what is the best next move for you based on where you are in your business right now, based on who you serve, based on some of the obstacles you may be facing or gaps in the marketplace that you need to fill, where your online presence is in terms of, does it effectively communicate what you do? Right? So all of these things we assess in marketing coaching before we decide or help our clients decide where they need to move next. Okay. I hope that's making sense. So instead of doing more, we really just narrow the focus and we choose one or two core strategies that align with how you naturally communicate, the relationships you already have, and the types of clients that you want to attract. And so I can tell you this. If you are first starting out, the strategy we're going to give you is going to be very different from someone who may be in the middle of their career or closer to the end of their career. And it's based on skill sets, connections, what you're already doing from a marketing perspective. It's all of these elements that we consider in marketing coaching before we help direct you in the right direction. So shift number 2 is really from marketing as effort to marketing as a system. So once the focus is clear, the next step is turning it into a system, because marketing is not just about visibility. It's about creating a path for someone to go from finding you to learning from you to trusting you to deciding to work with you. And every part of that path needs to be very intentional, because your content builds awareness, your conversations build trust, your intake process supports that decision. And I think when all of these pieces are disconnected, what happens is potential prospects fall through the cracks. But when they are connected, your marketing starts to feel much more predictable and successful. So shift number 3 is really from hesitation to clarity in your communication. So, another shift that makes a significant difference is how you communicate. So, a lot of professionals are more hesitant than they realize. What we see they do is that they are over explaining, they are softening their message, or they leave too much space for the client to figure things out on their own. And what we work on is simplifying that, being clearer about who you help, how you help, and what the next step looks like. Because confidence in communication doesn't come from pushing, it really just comes from clarity. And when you're clear, your clients are going to feel it. So, shift number 4 is from inconsistency to ownership and follow through. So, the final shift is real ownership here. It's so easy to feel like marketing is unpredictable, that it depends on timing or the algorithm or external factors. But what I bring clients back to is this: what are we consistently doing? What are we building over time? And are we giving it enough focus to actually work? If not, how do we tweak it? Because when you have a clear strategy and you actually commit to it, consistency becomes so much easier, and you're no longer guessing what to do each week. You're just executing on something that makes sense and that is targeted to where you are in your business right now. And this is where everything starts to come together because you have a clearer way of thinking, a focused strategy, and a system that connects your efforts. And from there, your marketing stops feeling scattered, it starts feeling structured, and much more importantly, it starts to produce results that you can actually build on.
Let's take a quick break.
If you're a lawyer, mediator, or divorce professional trying to figure out what marketing actually works right now, then this is for you. On April the 9th, I'm hosting a free live workshop called How Lawyers and Mediators Actually Attract Ideal Clients Today. Because what we're seeing is most professionals are doing a lot. They're posting, they're networking, they're trying different strategies, but not seeing consistent results. So, in this workshop, I'm breaking down exactly what clients are really looking for, what's actually working today, and how to simplify your marketing so that it starts generating real opportunities. And I should let you know this workshop has not been offered in several months and space is limited. So save your spot now using the link in the show notes. I'd love to see you there. All right, if you're listening to this and thinking this makes sense, but I'm not sure how to translate this into a system that actually works for my practice, that's exactly what we do at SG and Associates. We work with lawyers, mediators, and other trust-based professionals to design marketing systems that are realistic, sustainable, and aligned with how your practice actually operates, not systems that rely on constant posting or nonstop effort. And if you're thinking, marketing coaching could be something that I need, then I encourage you to reach out to us and we'll put a link in the show notes so you can book a call with us. Okay, so this is usually the point where clients start to see things differently because once we've worked through the resistance and we've clarified the strategy, they begin to realize something important. They don't actually need more ideas, and they certainly don't need another social media platform. They don't need to keep adding more to their plate. They just need clarity and guidance on how to move forward with confidence. And so, a big part of my role in marketing coaching is helping our clients step outside of their own thinking. Because when you're in your business every day, it's so difficult to see the patterns that are holding you back. And at SG and Associates, I have been doing marketing coaching for a very long time. So I see the hesitation, I see the inconsistencies, I see the assumptions that feel normal, but are really quietly affecting results. And things like, I don't want to sound too pushy, or clients are probably focused on cost. So maybe I should keep the price where it is, or lower the price, or send the invoice when it's time to send the invoice and forget to follow up because the client didn't pay, or I'll just wait and see when the client is ready. And these beliefs don't feel like major obstacles, but they influence everything that you do. How you show up in your content, how you respond to inquiries, how you guide someone during a conversation. And I'll tell you quite honestly, one of the things I see in marketing coaching as well, in particular, coaching lawyers is the way that they are paid or lack of follow-up on clients who have not paid is something I see a lot of when I'm coaching our clients through their profitability. And we look at, okay, well, when were those invoices paid? Oh, they weren't paid. Well, what follow-up took place? Or what do we need to change about your payment system? More retainer upfront, maybe using a payment system to collect. And it's always surprising to me to see how many lawyers are not paid and there is no follow-up on their end. And so for me as a marketing coach, that comes down to profitability, but it also comes down to looking at your model to say, okay, well, what do I need to do differently? Because I can tell you something, when you're not paid on a regular basis, or there's, certain clients that just fall through the cracks, what you're going to see is that you're not as profitable as you should be. And secondly, that starts to erode at someone's confidence. Like, well, maybe I shouldn't be asking for money, or should I do that follow up, or am I sounding too greedy if I'm asking for that follow up invoice to be paid? So I just wanted to share that because this is something I hear in my coaching conversations with clients. And I wanted to just raise that because if that's you as well, I want to encourage you to start feeling comfortable about talking about money and what you charge and how you are paid. Because it's not just the part of being paid, it's everything else that it does to your confidence when you are not being paid. Okay. So I also want to talk about getting very clear on strategy based on where you are in your business right now. And I think this is the part that's often missing because most professionals, they're not struggling with a lack of options. They're struggling with too many options and not a clear way to decide which one is the right one for them. So instead of trying to do everything, we simplify it. In our marketing coaching, this is what we look at. We look at your strengths. We look at how you naturally communicate, the relationships and networks that you already have in place. What do they look like? Who are they? How do we reach out to them? And the types of clients you actually want to attract. And from there, we build a strategy that fits. So for some clients, that means focusing on referral relationships and building a strong network. For others, it means leaning into thought leadership, creating content, hosting webinars, or educating their audience consistently. And for others, it could be a combination, but it has a very clear structure because the goal is not to do more. It's to focus on the very things that will actually move your business forward. So another key component of marketing coaching is alignment, because one of the biggest breakdowns I see is this. What someone says in their marketing doesn't always match what happens when a client speaks with them. And so the messaging might sound clear and confident, but the conversation feels hesitant or the process feels unclear. And when we tackle this with our clients in our marketing coaching sessions, we bring all these pieces together. So your content, your conversations, your intake process, all of these need to tell the same story. Because when they do, trust builds much faster and decisions become easier for the client. And I think at the end of the day, results come down to decisions. What you choose to focus on, what you choose to stop doing, and how consistently you follow through. Because without that clarity, it's so easy to second guess yourself, right? That's part of being human. So to try something for a short period of time and not see immediate results and then move on to something else, in marketing coaching, what we do is we remove that constant guessing because we have a good sense of what's going to work for you based on where you are right now. And so the mindset part of this comes into play as well. As a client, where is your mindset? What do you think about marketing? What do you feel about yourself? Or when you put yourself out there, what happens? So you may start asking, what am I building and how do I stay consistent with it? Or what do I do next? And that's the power of marketing coaching because you have a marketing coach guide you through this process. So the biggest shift I see in my clients is this. They really move from scattered effort to a very focused direction, from uncertainty to clarity, and from unprofitability to serious profitability because they are working on a strategy that actually fits them and produces results. And I think that's why marketing coaching is not just about mindset. That does play a role, but strategy does as well. And so in marketing coaching, that's what we do. We bring the two together so that how you think, what you focus on, and how you show up all work in alignment. And that's super important. And I think that's when marketing starts to feel a lot more effective. So, when this starts to come together, I think the shift is pretty noticeable, not just in your results, but in how you experience marketing, right? It feels much more focused, it's consistent, and it is certainly much more predictable. And you're no longer trying to do everything. You're clear on what your priorities are. You're clear on what you're building and why, right? Your conversations are much more confident and people are able to make decisions much more easily. And this is what I want to leave you with. If your marketing feels inconsistent, it's very rarely because you're not doing enough. It's usually because your mindset, your strategy, and your approach are not fully aligned. So instead of asking, what else should I be doing? I want you to start asking, am I focused on the right things for my practice? And am I approaching them with clarity and confidence? Because when those two pieces come together, how you think and what you focus on, that's when marketing starts to actually work. And if you're finding that you've been putting in the effort but not seeing consistent results, this is exactly where marketing coaching can help, not by giving you more to do, but by helping you think through and being more clear and focusing on the right strategy for your practice. That is going to lead to clients. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message or share your biggest takeaway. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes packed with actionable strategies to grow your practice. See you in the next episode.